Boston Bruins have made a very sneaky signing, going out and making the signing from the recent trade they made a few days ago, and this assures that Marco Sturm and Don Sweeney are setting their foot forward with Victor Soderstrom of heading in a new direction with the Boston Bruins. We're going to be breaking it down, going a little bit back over this trade, but why this signing is so important for the Boston Bruins, as well as at the end here, a little article from The Athletic, going over some very interesting kind of stats from the season on the Boston Bruins. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to cover here in today's video, and more stuff coming out as trade rumors start to heat up in this offseason. You won't want to miss it. Be sure to hit the sub button and join me here on the channel. But let's get straight into this here. First, going over what we saw a few days ago, or I guess yesterday, in this case, going over the signing of Victor Soderstrom, a one-year, two-way contract next season with a cap hit of $775. Now, this is, a very good contract, one that now the Bruins have him locked up, have him being able to play in this upcoming season, because if we go back here a few days ago from Robert Chalmers, it sounds like the Bruins would need to sign him by Sunday, which was today. Not sure exactly a time in specific, or it was at the end of the day, so that he could play in this upcoming season, and the Bruins now have done this, which officially, I think, makes this trade a win no matter what. It's a move where, we saw the trade, Ryan Mast, a 6th or 5th or 6th, 7th overall pick. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I do apologize, but it is regardless a win in this book right now. You get a former 11th overall pick in this scenario, and going back through what he has, and especially this little tidbit here from Reed Duthie, who works with the Hamilton Bulldogs OHL teams. There it is. The Bruins clearly put the work in to find out that Victor Soderstrom would join the club. Zero risk, high potential reward, and bring in a reigning Salming Trophy winner, which I believe is the best defenseman in the SHL. And this immediately, as you see here, I think the top piece is really what kind of we can all agree on, is that they put the work in to make sure that he would sign. And I feel like they would never have made this trade if they knew that Victor Soderstrom was not going to come over. If he wasn't going to come and play in the NHL again, they would not have made that signing. And of course, going back with recent reports as well, saying that he wanted to come back to the NHL last year, couldn't get a deal done. It makes sense as to why we're now at this point, is with the Boston Bruins. So this is a very big signing, because it gives us the Bruins now another right-handed defenseman that could crack the roster next year. I don't want to say he'll be there to start, but if we do see him exceed expectations in training camp, I certainly think it is a very big possibility that he does come out here and make this team early on, or at least be a 7th defenseman if they do decide not to extend Parker Wotherspoon. So we can kind of head over as well here, kind of take a look at the trade once again. The 7th round pick, there we go, not 6th, I do apologize for that. Ryan Mast in the 7th for Victor Soderstrom, as I mentioned, the former 11th overall pick, who has been really up and down in the AHL, NHL in his career. Went over to the SHL last year to play after he couldn't get a contract. This was a deal that, no matter what, as I mentioned, you're going to win. You go out and try and get a guy that you have a lot of potential in, where Ryan Mast, although he is younger, with that 7th round pick, we really weren't going to see Ryan Mast anytime just yet. And the 7th round pick, as I mentioned in the last video, could be something massive, but the odds are just so slim that, it's not that big of a worry. But Victor Soderstrom coming into it, as you see there, the stats that he's shown over the last 2 years, I think is really what set the Bruins' mind into the motion that they should go and get a guy like Victor Soderstrom. That paired with, as well, Marco Sturm, who is going to be developing already a lot of younger players. They're figuring, why not go out and get a few guys like this who were supposed to be top talents in the NHL, maybe not gotten to that position at any point yet, but have still shown shades that they can. And as well, 24 years old, he still has a lot of game left in his career, and hopefully we can turn that into a superstar career, and, maybe a long shot. That's certainly one thing that I think we can all kind of agree on, but it's a win-win regardless. But the 37 points in 49 games last year, the 32 points in 62 games in the AHL the year prior, he's shown that he's still ready. He's still got a lot of game left in him, and especially winning the Salming Award in Sweden, playing a phenomenal regular season, then going into the playoffs, getting 8 points in 17 games. He's been put in a very great position to actually show what he's made of, and I will pull this up once again that we have. I do have a few clips of him going through here, and, well, mainly one insane goal last year in the SHL, and I think this is what we need to expect. This is what the Bruins see in this kid, and I think that this is what they're hoping to get. He won't be playing any top-line minutes, at least throughout the season, or what we know of. Maybe even not in the NHL. But that one-year deal gives them the opportunity to see him potentially turn back into the player that the 11th overall pick from Arizona selected. And yeah, I still think there's plenty of time for that to happen. But as you see by these clips, I'm trying not to watch them as I'm recording this because it's just absolutely insane seeing this at, a young age in the SHL. No doubt that he's going to make that comeback, come over here, and be a player that a lot of players and teams are going to fear. But when we do look at the cap space from the Bruins here, from Bruins Cap Space on Twitter, you see that the right defense has one hole there in Henri Jokiharju. Whether or not he does come over, or re-sign, is still yet to be determined. I haven't heard anything from it. We haven't heard anything at all, actually, from it just yet. But it still could be something that they wait on. Maybe he goes to free agent, he tests the waters, then comes back to Boston. But let's just say we do see Charlie McAvoy, of course, at, line 1. Andrew Peeke, I would have him comfortably in line 2. Maybe if Victor Soderstrom starts the season at a line 3. You never know. Of course, the Bruins are making this a very busy offseason, whether it's going to be a trade, whether it's going to be in free agency. They need to go and get a few more defensemen on the right side here, knowing that the depth is not exactly there they want to. Ian Mitchell currently on Puckpedia is our number one defenseman, third line defenseman, but the number one kind of seventh defenseman on the right side. And of course, Wotherspoon can play left and right, but whether or not he resigns is still the question. But it gives a very good spot for Victor Soderstrom, and I'd also kind of ring some bells that the Bruins would go out here, get a guy like Victor Soderstrom to have the opportunity to play in the NHL, and if it don't work, you have zero risk in it. And I think this is a phenomenal way to kind of finish us off for the summer on this Victor Soderstrom status. Get him signed already, knowing that he can play, and start off with a non-loss trade. I think it's the best way of putting it. So let me know what you think about the Soderstrom trade, and then signing, of course. Do you think he's going to play to start next season? Do you think he's going to play it all next season? I think there's a lot of possibilities that we could see with him. And I do hope he makes this team because he is a defenseman that a lot of NHL teams are starting to look to get. And hopefully the Bruins have found theirs here. But let's jump in to this Athletic article, kind of going over this a little bit here. I wanted to pull this up. 2024-2025 best performers relative to the cap, going over last season. So this, it's kind of crazy when you're looking at this and you see the bottom two in Cole Koepke and Parker Wotherspoon, who are both a negative net rating, a -4 for that instance, and especially where you're kind of comparing that to the cap. Not a great look, but you see, of course, Morgan Geekie, David Pastrnak there, plus 10 rating for Morgan Geekie, plus 21 for Pastrnak at an $11.25 million contract. Goes to show how good he was, but also kind of puts into perspective how Morgan Geekie is going to be looking next season. Is going to be making the money that he saw, or more money than he saw last year. I think that's something we can certainly say. And as you see there on the bottom, the best contract in 24-25 was Morgan Geekie, who was at a cap hit of $2 million. And, kind of just wanted to pull this up. I feel like we don't really need to, but 77 games played, 57 points, 33 goals, and I'll say it again. Going from December on was when we really saw Morgan Geekie start to play really, really well. Goes to show, he could have been on base for 50 goals if he had started right at the start of the season, being as good as he was. So, kind of interesting to put that into perspective with his contract and how important that's going to be for the Bruins, whether they choose to sign him or not, which hopefully, and we almost need to see it, have him signed by the Bruins. But let me know what you think about all this stuff here in the comments below. Of course, just a little tidbit at the end there, but the main thing, I want to know what you guys think about the Victor Soderstrom signing. It's a very interesting one, and I want to see him in the Bruins uniform at least some point in this upcoming season. So that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. You guys have been crushing it as of late, and I very much appreciate your support. And remember, we're on the road to 7K, and your support has been everything to me. But that's all I got. If you did enjoy, like I said, give it a like, hit the sub button. But I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.